Hi everyone, and welcome to the All Things ITSM podcast. We're coming to you from SITS in London. I'm Kirsty McGowan, I'm here with Ivan McFarlane. Hello. And our guest is Stuart Rance from Optimal Service Management.
Hello, Kirsty.
Hey, Stuart. Now, Resilia. I hear you're the lead author on the new portfolio from Axelos.
That must have been about half my time last year.
And the chief examiner for the portfolio as well. So do you want to explain to people just what Resilia is all about?
Gosh, that's going to be hard to fit into a brief podcast. So,
a little bit about it.
The idea of Resilia is to take a management system approach to how do you get your cyber resilience right.
Yeah.
And it focuses on a few different things. I think the biggest one is probably balance. Balance between people, process and technology, because so much of what we see in InfoSec is technology focused.
Yes.
Balance between protecting, detecting and correcting, because so much what people try and do is prevent incidents and it's no longer good enough. And people aren't very good at either detecting or correcting. And also the other one, which you see missing in a lot of places, is balance between risks and opportunities. InfoSec people always focus on the risk at the cost of creating business problems by cutting down on agility and opportunity following. And then the business people push back by going for all the opportunities and the agility and ignoring the InfoSec requirements. So getting that balance right is quite tricky.
Yeah. It's interesting, we're sitting here in the SITS show next to Europe's largest information security conference, but we're talking about Resilia this side of the divide.
It's interesting, isn't it?
So you see it as a serving more of...
No, not at all. I think it's both. The whole point is that if you're running IT, if you're not running IT, if you're running a business and you have information somewhere in your business, you need to think about the security of that information. And you don't do it as a separate information security management system any more than you run IT services with a separate IT service management system. You have a management system to run your business. It's like this old idea that we're going to have IT governance. No, you're not. You're going to govern you.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
We're preaching out there perhaps to not the choir. So maybe we expand on that idea. Do you really believe that, because IT has been seen as separate in the past from a service management perspective, from a security perspective, is that finally changing?
Not fast enough. So let me give just one simple example. Change management. Every organisation I know has some part of it that is responsible for business change management, looking at capitalising on opportunities. They might be growth opportunities, they might be opportunities to cut costs, but they have business change management, reorganisations, changes in process. They also have IT change management, which looks at infrastructure and application changes. Do the two work together?
Never.
And then, completely separately, on the security side, they have change management, looking at how we're protecting. Do any of those three talk to each other? Resilia is about building a management system, so we don't try and duplicate what's in ISO 27001 or what's in the NIST cybersecurity framework, which is about the detail of the controls. We talk about building the controls into a management system.
So I mean, that's interesting. I'm talking about change management in a couple of weeks in Austria. Exactly, it starts off with a picture of fences.
Yes.
And you see these fences you're dividing things about, they don't exist.
Good. Can I come?
Yeah. But the Resilia idea is interesting because on the face of it, those who haven't seen it yet presume that it's about resilience and therefore one more little fence off. So you're saying it's actually a broader perspective than that.
Much broader.
So obviously there's a marketing message still to get out there to demonstrate.
And interestingly, one of the really big things running through it is about collaboration. So when I go to modern technology conferences, what do I hear? I hear DevOps people talking about collaboration. So I find it very interesting to hear collaboration come in all the way over from the management system people over here, all the way over from the techies over there. I think maybe collaboration is the big idea for the next few years.
And without advertising or saying whether it's good or bad, IT for IT is setting itself out as providing some of that glue.
I love the IT for IT idea of moving away from process focus to value network and value chain focus, saying what are the connected set of things I do that make value for my customers. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think there's only two things that matter, which is value and damage.
Yeah.
It's more optimistic to talk about value, but it's often more realistic to start with the damage.
You bring me back Paul Wilkinson, I love Paul. I love his presentation on value, outcome, costs and risks. Heard it more than once and I always enjoy it.
Now, Paul gets it and has got it for a long time.
Yes.
He certainly does. He's someone who really understands that value to the business. It's refreshing to always listen to him speaking.
And it's the same from a security point of view, from a business point of view, or from an IT point of view. If you're managing value, outcome, costs and risks, you're probably not doing a bad job.
Yep.
And that applies whether you're talking about a small IT department in a company or whether you're talking about Ford or Chrysler.
Yeah.
20 years ago, when I first got into IT service management, it was a bit weird because I kind of learnt about ITIL a long time after I'd been doing service management because it was what I did from my background. And I used to talk to other service management people and I'd say, well, I've got 3 PCs at home, so of course I've got configuration and change management. And they'd look at me like I was mad. But it meant if something went wrong, I could say, well, what changed? And because I had the data. It's not hard, it was just basic, simple spreadsheets and text files.
That's right. You do it, and that's what I keep saying when I do any presentation, it's all about common sense. It's not rocket science. Some people try to make it rocket science, but it's not. It is just pure common sense. You do what works.
Yeah, the trouble is common sense isn't so common. I mean, I remember working on a configuration management book, and we got hopelessly confused because we didn't know, we were all working on different versions and nobody had applied configuration management to writing the configuration management.
That's wonderful.
So these things happen, but
I'm going to promote DevOps again then. I love the idea of no forks. We check everything in and we don't have to do that rubbish of reuniting all the separate forks because we just have one.
Just do it all as one. Something else, recently at the New Zealand conference I got to speak to Christian Nissen came on the podcast talking about taking service.
He's a clever man. If I was half as clever as him, I'd be a lot cleverer than I am now.
Yeah, so we were talking about taking service forward. So now you're very involved in the taking service forward initiative. So what's happening with that now? What's the stage that it's up to?
We're making slow progress in the right direction. It's hard. It's hard because when we started, we had 2 principles that we were going to use to guide us, and they both came from Japanese philosophy. One was the do. We wanted something simple, elegant, do meaning the way, or the path, as in judo or taekwondo, or a martial art of doing things right because it's simple, because that's... And the other one that we took on was the idea of the bonsai. What's important is how much you cut away. So the idea was we wanted something really small but elegant, and that's hard. It's taking a long... So we're spending what probably looks to outsiders like a huge amount of time talking about, well, what is a service? And stuff that's really fundamental. But what we hope to eventually end up with is something small and elegant rather than something big and lumbering. You might well say that, Ivor. I couldn't possibly comment.
Making something smaller is the hardest job. I mean, certainly when I do editing, if you're given a 2,000 word piece and you're told it needs to be 800, that's far harder than taking an 800 word piece and making it 2,000.
Now you get another philosopher, Blaise Pascal, of Pascal's Triangle, who once wrote a letter to a friend saying, please forgive me writing a long letter, I didn't have time to write a short one.
I forget which American president it was. If you want a 2-hour talk, I'm ready now. If you want a 30-minute talk, I'll need a week. There's a lot of that around.
And that, in my opinion, is why TSF is taking a long time, because it's going to be small and elegant when we...
It'll be interesting to wait for it. I've only got 3 years left in the industry, so maybe I won't see it.
What I find interesting about TSF is the amount I've learnt in talking to people, because the people involved are not only service management people, there's quite a few people from an enterprise architecture background, and there's also some really interesting academics that we've been talking to, people who do service in very high level academia, and that's been a real eye-opener for me.
There is a whole different approach coming out of academia, which is it's an interesting challenge. Sometimes they think it's universally applicable, and sometimes it isn't. So there's some interesting discussions with academics.
And the sort of the service dominant stuff and the goods dominant is really interesting. And so one of the things I learnt, there's 2 or 3 things I've learnt as we've worked on TSF that I found interesting. One is the idea that there are no longer distinct goods and services. Whatever you buy, some has some physical existence. Anything you buy has some, and has some service existence, and it's a spectrum. This thing might be 99% service, and that one might be 99% goods, but there is no longer one or the other. It's where are you on the spectrum?
Was there ever really a difference, or are we
No.
just now seeing it?
I think it's becoming less. And the other thing I've really learnt from it already, which is interesting, and it's fundamentally changed how I work with my customers doing consulting, is that services are not delivered by service providers to customers. So if I create an incident management process, who should be involved in the design of that process?
Anyone affected by it.
Right, so who do we usually not involve?
The users.
You got it.
Yeah.
Well,
But we're expecting them to actually play a major part in it. So
absolutely.
how many IT organisations do you know who say we're designing an incident management process, we need a customer, we need a user, we need a
And
somebody
they
from
are
level
actually
2.
the only ones who can judge the value, the value of that service, because
So,
they are the
so
they
from a
receive it.
theoretical model, I've come down to a change in my practice,
Yes.
and that's I find interesting.
I mean, and that's something I learned in prison many years ago. That
There's a story here.
we were doing work for the customers, the owners of the supply chain delivering prisoners' uniforms and kit. We learned much better ways to do it and to improve it, not by talking to the customers, not by looking at the product, but by actually getting in the prison and sitting down, drinking tea and talking to the inmates about what they actually did. That was the biggest factor that made us successful. And you will never get anywhere if you don't.
And I guess, but the point I'm making is even beyond that. It's not you should talk to them. It's they should be part of the design team, an active part of the design team, because the service is not created by the service provider. Every service is co-created. It might be 99% provider and 1% user, or the other way about.
There's a sort of black box image. The customer is interested in the outcomes and the inputs. The users are actually much more involved in the design of how you do it.
Yes.
And the customer shouldn't really care. It's not in their judgment.
It may be, think about tooling, for example. Who's funding the tooling on the customer side? So they have some important inputs about interfaces and...
I suspect we're getting into the beginning of the next discussion, which could take hours, and it will be really good to have that discussion.
We do need to have that discussion another time. And on a closing note, Stuart, congratulations on being the ITSM Contributor of the Year.
Oh, that
announced
was lovely.
Yesterday.
That made me feel good.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
And well deserved.
But actually, what I really enjoy about events like this is a chance to sit and have conversations like this. Most of them don't have a video camera.
But we just forget about that.
I've really had a good couple of days sitting and talking service management with people.
Fantastic.
Isn't that good?
Well, I hope we'll get the chance to have another chat here in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.